Well, here we are on the hood of the Leviathan with a box. This box may or may not contain something I have been tracking down for a little while. And if it does, as I hope it does, as I expect it does, I just wanted to share the contents.
And if it doesn't, then we just have a random box opening video.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, you, but like, yeah.
Book of templates.
And it does.
Your system book of templates. And what's that?
This,
Ooh.
okay, that's garbage. That's nonsense.
Oh,
That's
that's a
because I'm
paperback
collector.
version.
That's not something important.
It's a
Yeah, it's a
paperback version of the
paperback.
BBB.
No, this is more than a paperback version of the BBB.
Yeah, it's not blue.
This is a print on demand created from a PDF of the BBB. It is available, well, I don't honestly remember, but the Hero Games website had a link to it.
Ooh, it's got a little bit damaged.
It's not really damaged. It's just, this is print on demand, and I'm pretty sure it's just a crappy cut.
Meh.
Now, we have gray. Anyway, this is a quality video. Instead of the blue on the original, you can't reach the paperback. So I was going to say, you know what? Go grab a paperback. Over my door. You'll need a ladder. Over my door.
I know where they are.
Okay. So, we have the original artwork. We have all the original text, but you'll notice this is gray instead of blue. Now, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head if that's the original barcode. I'm willing to bet it's not, because look how clean it is. Now, let's see if the detail will show. But the printing is legible. It's a little blurry. And I suspect the reason for this, of course, is that they're working from scans. Probably scans that have been cleaned, and in all honesty, most of the time when something is cleaned in image manipulation software, it kind of eats into the edges of the stuff you're trying to keep. Learned that one the hard way. So this wasn't retyped or rewritten. The art looks good. It's clean. It is just ever so slightly blurred. Gonna be yeah, forgive the dirty hands. I just got off work and this was in the mail. It looks good. It's ever so slightly blurred. Again, is it because it was a scan? Was it a lower resolution scan? Or is it because of the glossy stock? Anyway, let's flip it over and look at the front cover. The blurring is a bit more obvious. The incorrect colors are a bit more obvious if you are really, really familiar with the original. Now,
What's that?
my suspicion, that is the original stock number. This was product number 400. Not this reprint, but the original book. Again, we have gray instead of blue. That may be to market as a reprint, I don't know. The logo is not crisp at all. I don't know if it'll come out on this camera, but there is considerable pixelation, particularly obviously on the angles. That's where you find it the most anyway in anything. Nice straight lines, of course, look nice and straight because the pixels can work with that. Pixels are like little teeny tiny Triscuits, evidently, and must be square. I gotta be honest with you, they could have done away with that super blurb. I would have noticed and been happier. I've never liked that. It just kind of screws up the whole look of the cover. Anyway, as you can see, the colors are off. Dr. D has a lot of gray worked into him, where you'd find bluer highlights before. Here is an almost pristine original. Now, let's see. You see a lot of fiery red tones in the Moron Seeker. A lot of fiery red tones in his little energy beam there. Seeker, well, he's a bit more white guy colored, I guess. A lot of yellow undertones. The energy beam is a little orangey. Let's see if we can do a one on top of the other.
Oh, they removed the naming. The
Hmm?
by.
Yeah, I hadn't actually noticed that. The bylines. On the original, the bylines, George McDonald, Steve Peterson, and Rob Bell. And on this one, just
Nothing.
not there. Now, well, this is also stock number 450.
That's 400.
This is stock number 400. What that means is that this is a scan from the BBB, the hardback.
Mm-hmm.
Go grab your BBB. Because the BBB was stock number 400. But as far as the color goes, who knows? Now, I can understand why that would be, why the new one would be off-colored, because they would be working from a scan off a very glossy book, and depending on what they use for technology. Anyway, you've heard enough about the art and the covers, I'm sure. Let's look at the inside. It is actually blurry to look at. I feel like if I had a pair of glasses on, this logo would come into focus.
Comparison?
There is a nice crisp one. Hey, I actually cannot read this. This is a used one I bought a little while ago, because if I can find one of these for under $10, I'll pick it up. If any of you guys happens to know whose signature that is, I have your book, or I have his book, or her book, I don't know. But
Looks like J. Russ
it doesn't really matter. Darby, I think.
Darley, probably.
You ever heard of a Darley?
It looks like an L.
You ever heard of a Darby?
No.
Really? Darby Bank. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nice, clean, original. Massively pixelated. Honestly, I cannot overemphasize how much, when you open the cover and look at this, you think maybe you need a nap or your glasses. It's pixelated enough that it actually looks out of focus. Lots of washing out. Wow, actually this camera is really nice. A lot of the problems just aren't showing. It's picking up enough detail. It's picking up details the eyes don't. For example, Rob the Man Thornton looks pretty clear and crisp on the camera, but it's almost faded out if you look at it in person. I can read it better through the camera than I can looking at the page. That's funny. Alright, here's an original BBB. Now,
This is actually
the dark blue of the original paperback, number 400 or 450.
This is actually closer to that one. Than
And
that.
this is an original BBB, number 400. We assume that's where the cover scan here came from. Now, the colors, the hardback BBB had the best colors. I have always assumed that the art was originally created specifically for whatever problems making a hardback causes. But Seeker's got nice, good coloring, good highlights. Energy Blast is crisp. You can see all kinds of little colored details and things kind of going on in there, giving it a nice, full, voluminous appearance. Dr. D's bracelets are in real sharp detail there. His colors are just on. There's a sharp difference between the red and the dried blood color of his cape there. And over here, it's a little blurry. It's still pretty good on the collars.
It's kind of gray.
You don't really have any of the little... You have big blurs in there instead of the individual little specks of color. As you can see, he's grayed out, which honestly makes his face look more like I always thought it should anyway. But he's kind of grayed out. You follow the arm, the gray. That dried blood color has just kind of turned into a different shade of gray.
Or brown.
That brilliant blue sky, I don't even know if the camera's going to show that well, it's getting dark out here, has turned into a really, really sad shade of purple.
How similar is it to that one? Oh, that one's like dark blue.
Now, of course, this book is very, very old. Oh, also, Randy Dennis, I've got your book too. This wasn't my original. I gave you the one that was in the best condition.
I know.
My original's falling apart. All right. Again, no pixelation, nice and clean. Of course, we know how printing used to work back when that book was made. What's the back look like? Oh, yeah. Art that pops with characters that I never liked. Of course, that was the problem throughout the entire 4th edition. That crisp blue on her leotard has turned to a lavender. which isn't bad, but perhaps you can see the difference in sharpness. If I can back the camera up a little bit and still get reasonable shots of both. There's a series. Well, here, let's try this. Because the Leviathan has a very large hood.
Yeah. There's this one.
You can see the difference. And again, you know, they're printing scans. Well, we can do the original paperback, but it's always been a little too dark and a little too blurry versus the original. Yeah, honestly, there wasn't a single character, name brand character in 4E that I liked. I'm glad most of them are dead in our universe. But back to this. Again, I don't know if you can see.
If that's
No, the camera does not do it justice. The camera will actually make it sharp for you.
Hold on. If that's like grayer, does that mean that that's just kind of like everything in it's just a bit grayer?
Faded.
Yeah, this is actually really hard to read. You can't see it through the camera that much. It actually is much more legible through the camera. But this is actually really hard to read. The table of contents.
Hold on. So does that?
You
make
remember?
it
I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember mimeographs. But if you were kid like number 100 or kid number 200 to get a paper off of the original mimeograph, how just so blurred out it was, you spent your whole time with your hand raised asking the teacher, what does this say? What does this say? The headings. Okay, the headings. Let's see. Let's put a thumb here. I don't have a banana. The thumb is for scale. So, just to give you an idea of how big that heading is,
They're a bit
and
more
you
like
can still see the pixelation
pixelated.
even on the camera. You can see how pixelated it is. The pixelation in here will make you actively dizzy. Yeah, well, I'm sure here's your originals. And this is an original hardback copy with the yellowing paper and the ink fading with age, and it's just as crisp and clear.
This one's a bit more.
I'm thinking that they probably
white.
tried to work from a 300 DPI scan.
This one's still.
I could be wrong. It could be a 600 DPI scan that just was cleaned up using the big bulk mass tools instead of doing individual bits. Yeah, if you hold the camera here long enough, it will do its best to focus that. Champions Rules book, which is readable sheerly by fact of size. It's big enough that the pixelation doesn't really matter.
This, on the other hand.
Yeah, this is actually better than the first index. Table of contents printed
Hold
much
on.
larger. Maybe
There's
see
a different.
sample characters. No, you really can't see just how badly faded this is on camera. It picks up the contrast and runs with it.
Oh, there is a different table of contents.
Yes, that's the second table of contents.
Oh.
How to use the book. Well, I'm not going to knock this because... Alright. Let's hope the actual character sheet, pardon me while everybody gets dizzy. Let's hope the actual character sheet came out better than the sample character sheet. Because the sample character sheet
Is not good.
is illegible.
In the original, right here.
There are some smears that indicate a hint of lines. There's your original sample character sheet.
Here's this one.
Well, all right. Again, this is it. Don't fold that too hard. It's a really old book, and it's just not tough.
Okay.
Here's the original. It's a little heavier, a little thicker. Of course, everything in the paperback was like that. It was paperback was like an afterthought, and everything was just really beaten into it. The ink is very heavy. It's like the bleeds were not quite right. This is readable. If this was the only rule book I had, this is readable. Especially if you're a younger person and you're used to reading bad scans. Heavy pixelation there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can see
Actually,
it on the
we're
people.
just going to go ahead at this point, and we're
What
going
page
to
is
say
that?
that all of the art is really heavily pixelated. I'm thinking it might have been a nice clean scan. It had to be a nice clean scan because there's no artifacts or anything in the papers. I'm sure it was a nice clean scan, but I'm thinking it was a pretty low resolution scan as well. Either that or it was, and well, maybe even combination, that it was printed at a fairly inexpensive DPI. It's usable. At my age, I would get a headache trying to read this. But it is usable. Let's see if either of the younger volunteers have any trouble reading this. You, Noisy, read the example.
Example, Melissa, which is really blurred out, wants her character to be less healthy than normal and
Why?
wants her to start with a constitution of 7 instead of 10.
But why?
If she decides to do this, she gains the character points appropriate to the loss. Since her character lost 3 con points, and con points are worth...
That's a
sorry.
2.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. 2 character points each. The character gains 6 character points to buy other characteristics or skills. However, the loss of con affects her ED, REC, END, and stun. Moreover, she's also rather frail.
Okay, that is not a fault of her reading skill. The 2 really is that blurred. You got to kind of look at it for a minute. All right, Hammerhead, your turn.
Really?
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 You wanted to be in it, you get to perform.
Come on.
Like a trained monkey!
Yes, but not by that.
Oh
many,
wow!
please.
Go back to the page before.
Well, let's find something, because, you know, people may
Look,
want to see how
look
this...
at
Okay,
this.
let's look at a chart.
Oh.
That actually came through better than I thought. Again, it's very light. There's lots of individual pixels within the characters of the words that are missing. Go back to page 19.
Yeah, look.
Wow! Okay, that washed. That washed really badly. Fortunately, it was fairly heavy in the original. This is completely readable.
Ugh.
Here's the
Again,
original.
mostly because it's very
Why are
large.
some of those like static?
If you look at the original, you've got those gray bars that I absolutely hate.
Oh, those used to be gray bars. They're like barely visible.
Yeah, let's get a little. If you get a little sun through it, you can kind of see them. But they look more. Those gray bars look more like artifacts. I cannot pronounce the moiring effect that you get when you try to scan color or solid blocks if you're not careful. And they probably just faded them out to eliminate that. Hello, Munchie. Hiya, Munchie. Cat tax. Cat tax. Cat tax. Hey,
Munch.
fine, be that way.
Munch. Here. Here's the
Brain
munchkin.
massage. Massage the brain.
Munchkin.
Massage the brain.
All right, come on, Munch.
Alright.
Off he goes.
There was a background in this picture originally.
Ooh, this coffee's
Not that it matters. If you're buying this reprint, you are buying it for this information. You are buying it for what's in it. And everything I have seen so far, with rare exception, is readable.
Oh yeah, there was a background.
Actually, through a camera, you can't even see how pixelated this is. It's this one isn't terrible, but when you're looking at it with your unaided eye, it looks like you need glasses. It's just out of focus a little bit.
It did have a background.
All
Are
right.
those like coins?
They were originally.
Now they're just like
Now they're
Something.
a collection of barcodes.
Ta-da! Here's the original.
yeah.
Well, everybody, all 2 of the people that will watch this video probably own the original. Ah! Okay. All right, Hammerhead, you got young eyes. Read me this chart.
This one?
This chart.
This chart.
Oh, this chart. Okay. Maneuver, defensive strike,
All right, how many phases?
half phase, cost of 5, OCV plus 1, DCV plus 3, damage slash effect,
Read this column for me.
half, VAR,
Variable.
half.
Okay. Now, again, it doesn't show in the camera, but there are a couple of these that if you didn't already know them, you'd have to flip to a character sheet or to a different book to find out for sure.
I can't see.
They're all half, but
Yeah,
some
some-
of them are faded really.
Some
really
of them
badly.
just look like a tiny dot and a line.
All right, let's do a quick toss. We're not going to go through page by page. We're trying not to get too much information out of the book because we don't want to actually give away somebody's intellectual properties and all those legal
Stop.
issues.
Munch. Hey, Monty.
Oh, wait, I'm sort of curious to know some more about that.
Oh wow, that's a lot of pencil.
Hey, you can
Let's
look
see what's
what
going on
that
here. Okay. Now, the paper feels like copy paper. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
It
does?
feels like copier paper.
Wait,
It does
what?
not feel like this original. It doesn't have that smoothness to it. As we all know, this wasn't exactly magazine stock, but it was nice paper. This, honest to God, feels like you went down to Sprawl Mart and bought one of those packs, 300 pieces of copy paper.
Would you stop messing up my...
And it even has that weird, almost
Monty.
blue tint to it.
Monty, get off my book.
Stop.
Okay.
Yeah, just flipping through. Everything in here is readable. Some of it,
Yeah, it is blue.
if you are at that point where you probably need glasses, but you're still pretending you don't, you're going to squint a lot.
Are we going to go through the other book?
No, because I really don't give a crap about the other book. I just got it because, oh, it's got a blue back on it, so it needs to go in the collection.
Oh. Come on.
It's really tiny.
Yeah, for what, 25 pages? It really should have been staple bound. It would have held up longer.
No. Yeah,
All right, let's see. Here we go. Here's the character sheet that you were supposed to Xerox.
show the camera to the bunch.
I guarantee everybody's just going to go online, find a nice clean copy of this,
Hey, Neil, flip
And
to
print
the
it.
original.
because this copy already looks like it's been through several Xerox accidents.
What page is that?
Oh, it's like 3/4, 213, 14.
213.
Yeah, 214 and 215.
Careful.
Again, you know, it really is maddening. Just
Ugh.
because you look at it and you go, it's clear, and my eyes aren't looking good. It really is
Like,
maddening.
what page number is that? It's
There we go.
S3.
Yes, it is page S3. This is the source book section. All right, and of course, this was the original character sheet of the BBB, and a clumsy idiot with a power cord. No, it's okay, really, because you know, if you just rip the entire circuit board out of this, then you know we only have to spend $500 to get another one. Go for it.
They'd have to make a new video.
I'm not going to
Whoa,
rip
is that
on.
guy melting?
Go to the
Yes,
character
he's
page.
exploding. I'm not going to rip on the art anymore because looking
Yeah.
through the camera,
Okay.
it doesn't really seem. It does not translate well just how horribly, horribly pixelated this is.
Look at him launch.
Oh, and my favorite picture.
Has been ruined.
To see it
What?
so fuzzy.
What is it?
Oh, okay.
He already turned the page by the time that you went.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm not going to rip on the pixelation and the faded print anymore. You know, I got to be honest with you. I really think if they had actually just tried to print it darker, a lot of the biggest flaws with this book would become so minor as to not be worth mentioning. If they had just put a little more toner on it or something. I'm saying toner because I swear to God, this is copy paper. This book is printed on copy paper. But you do get
Coolio.
the George Perez art that everybody but me is in love with. And it's not that I'm not in love with George Perez art. I have learned a lot about George Perez art over the years, and the man is truly, truly talented. I don't like this picture. I don't like this picture because it is so generic, I guess I should say. There's nothing going on here that would make this stand out at all. It's like, oh, look, guy with a sword attacking the guy who's going to clobber him with a building. And what? There's nothing that really pulls you into it. This is like standard snapshot comic book. There's nothing about this that made me pull it off the shelf. This, right there where it says Champions, that's what made me buy it originally. Wasn't this artwork, which is phenomenal. Oh, wow, with the pixelated. Okay, that face was always terrible. It just was.
Well, what's it
Maybe
look
the BBB.
like?
It looks like that, only worse.
Really? I want to see that.
There is the original,
Careful.
really terrible face.
Ugh.
Here it is, if you want to see it wrongly colored
It's
and heavily
up there.
pixelated.
It's further up.
No, I'm looking right at it.
Yeah, but you were showing the. You're
Neil.
showing the laser.
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm looking.
It's fine.
Anyway, now, all that being said, all the pixelation. Oh,
Oh!
all right, read that.
Turn to page S26.
Physical world description. The
Turn it down.
Galactic Guardians East Hainer future where humans are something
Dog side. Sheep.
human faces high
Let me look at this.
television something.
Okay, again, you really
It's really hard to
you
make.
can't
out
tell on the camera.
anything.
In the camera, this is actually perfectly legible.
Really?
And,
What's it
and
say?
it may be in the video. It says the Galactic Guardians exist in a near future where humans are one of many. Okay, I was wrong. It is not completely legible.
Many
Hold on,
spacefaring
I'm almost there.
races, high technology.
There we go.
Okay, you're cheating. You're looking in the original book.
No, I have the original.
Okay. What this child just went through trying to read this line to us,
Keep it still.
what he just went through is what I'm going through with the entire rest of the book.
Here's the actual text here.
Now, yeah, let's see if that. Ooh,
Oh, that's much better.
It's like Gothic calligraphy. It's so beautiful. Now, what he went through trying to read that is what I'm going through on every page in this book. Granted, if I had some glasses on, it would be easier. I think, in spite of the pixelation, I have to believe that just printing it a little heavier, a little darker, where the bleeds would have kind of filled in the missing little pinpricks out of all the characters and letters, would have made a huge difference.
I think the cat just sort of took over.
Now, was it worth the price?
What was the price?
I'm not telling you, because then you'll want one.
No, I won't. I have this
He has one.
Was it worth the price?
I have this one, which is much better.
Even after this glowing review of the contents, yes, this was definitely worth the price.
What was the price?
And the reason being because most people
fair.
don't have old eyes. The price was better than fair. There's a lot of information in here. It is all legible with a little bit of work. The binding itself is, other than that terrible miscut, the binding itself is substantial. It is significant.
Just cut.
It is very reminiscent of the original paperback binding, and I have several copies in the original paperback, which are still holding up really, really well. That one I try not to use because it's in such great condition. This is a BBB.
Yes, but what about the hardback? Does it come out easily?
Eventually, yes, they all did. Never ever store a hardback like this. Never store a hardback up like that because there's no support on the pages. So the pages are pulling against the spine the whole time.
So store it
Always
like
store
this.
hardbacks flat. Always. Don't care what you see in the library. That's because it's easier to find the book that way. You don't want them to tear up. Always store them flat. But
Because there's
going
this
back to the uninterrupted
dip in here.
review, I totally think it was worth the price. You get
And you've already done.
you get the original rules. You get a lot of information if you don't already have it. You have a book. My God, there is absolutely no value, no price that can be put on having a book versus a PDF. Oh, my PDF is nice and crisp and clean, and I can blow it up on my phone. Yeah, me too. I can blow it up and read 4 words at a time and scroll left and right and up and down and left and right and up and down. Oop, next line. Left and right and up and down, left and right and up and down. We're not going to review that.
I'm just looking through it.
Okay, what is it?
Hero System Book of
No,
Templates.
yeah, I know that.
Templates?
I'm saying what is it? If you want to know what it is, basically, is 25 pages of pre-made characters,
Is that a car?
and it's not even pre-made characters. It's this is this kind of character. Now, take this half of work and build the other half of the character. What the hell fun is that? Who wants to do that really? Like, oh well, I'm a GM and I need 15 characters. You're a GM. You already got 15 characters stuck in your head. Using somebody else's half of a character isn't going to make that any better. Now, lots of people wanted to attend this viewing, and they won't stop distracting me from it.
Including this cat here.
How does it look? It's cut smooth, but how does it look? It looks like somebody's put a stack of a couple hundred pages of copy paper together. The cover is much thinner and much lighter. Much thinner and much lighter than the original paperback cover. And, gee, surprisingly enough, it's thinner and lighter than the hardback, too. Who'd have thought?
Everyone.
I'm not even entirely sure that it's as heavy as the covers on the softbacks that came out of the 5th edition, the supplements and various books for that. Again, I'm not going to knock it. It's worth it because if you have reasonably good eyesight, the book is readable. It will be sort of annoying. Anybody that's still using 4th edition or just wants to own a copy of 4th edition, this is a great way to get a brand new copy.
Even this part is
Now-
pixelated.
Yes. Now, you say, oh, but you know, why would I want a brand new copy that's pixelated like this and that and the other? Well, let's look at all my copies. My copies are 30 years old. My copies are 30 years old. I have many copies of these books, hardback and softback. I prefer 2E, but for a while these were easier to find, so I picked them up. Now, am I going to get another 30 years of life out of this one? Seriously doubt it. In fact, my BBB died. It's 30 years old and it died within 2 years of heavy use. This is not my BBB. This is one of several that I gave to this guy right here. Actually, no, it's one of several I own, and the one I gave to him. And the reason I gave it to him, and I want you to look at it really close, is this is in the best condition of all the BBBs. I gave him the best one. Oh, I was going to check that barcode, wasn't I? Let's see, we have a completely new ISBN, which I honestly was halfway expecting. I have a completely new ISBN,
At least the ISBN isn't pixelated.
and we have a completely new barcode. Well, yeah, that's why I figured this was not the original, because, oh, look how nice and clean it is. Do I demand that somebody apologize for this, and do I demand that they retype it and do it all over the right way? No, I don't, because this is worth what you paid for it. It's absolutely worth what you paid for it. You didn't pay a lot if you got it. And you have a table copy of your 4E rules that you can throw out on the table. You can pick up a couple of them and throw them out on the table, and your players can rip through it and tear through it and whatever they need to do. And you won't feel bad because,
It's all
well, other than the cover, you could make this yourself, you know, with some copy paper and a good printer. But it's worth what you pay for it. It is not a reprinting. It is a printing of the scans. It's probably not as good as it could. In fact, no, I know it's not as good as it could have been. It is honestly and truly better than I thought it would be, just by the fact that somebody did take the time to make sure the cover was a bit less pixelated than the rest